Hello and welcome to Quantum IAS. So we are dealing with the mechanics module and we will start lecture 3 today. Till now we have completed lecture 1 and lecture 2 in which we have discussed about Newton's laws of motion, equations of motions, work, power, energy, conservation of energy and so on. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about the system of particle and its center of mass basically. Also we will analyze some of the problems, some of the physical quantities with respect to the center of mass frame of reference and lab frame of reference. Also we will see the conservation of momentum and its application in various problems. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing first, we are going to discuss about the system of particles. What do we mean by system of particles? So till now we have studied about a point mass. What we have studied about? This point mass. And we have seen its kinematics and dynamics. For example, what we mean to say that if this is sun and this is our earth, let's suppose, and it revolve around the sun, assume it to be a circular motion. So we are considering earth as what? Point object, because the diameter of earth with this distance is very less. So we can write that r is much greater than radius of the earth. So we were treating this as point object. But what happened when we have the system of particles, when we have not point object, when we have multiple objects or the dimension is not less than the distance traveled. For example, suppose this block, okay, and I am pointing it A, B and C. Its mass is m be the mass. And what happen if we apply the force here, F? What would happen? Suppose if we apply the force here at this point, what will happen? Wait, it will fall down like this, right? So C point here, B point here. So B point will come in this trajectory, C point will come in this trajectory, A will remain at that position. So first question is, can we apply F equals to ma here? Because this object is satisfying all the condition that we have taken for the Newton's laws of motion. Also, it has a constant mass. So can we apply this equation? So yes, we can apply this equation, but the acceleration of point C, acceleration of point B, acceleration of point A will be different. See, you can see the distance covered by the B, distance covered by the C, all will be what? Different, in different time. So where should we apply this formula? Which point should we take the A, acceleration? So this relation can be better understood by F external is equals to ma center of mass. For a constant mass system, this can be written as this for a system of particle. So from here, we can start our system of particles. So what is system of particles? If we have multiple point objects, if we have multiple point objects, just write down multiple point objects, then you can say it as system of particles. Simply put, this is what we say. If we have multiple point objects, we can say it as system of particles, right? System is what is under observation, and we are free to choose the boundary of our system, right? So for example, let's suppose this two blocks A is connected to block B. So we can take only B as a system. We can take only A as a system. For example, if we take B as a system, then the tension force acting between A and B will exert as external force. But when we will take A, B complete and the string as system, then this tension will become internal. So we can decide what we are going to cover here for the system of particles. What are under our observation is known as system, and system of particles is what we have multiple point object. So based on this system of particles, system of particle can have two types. One is discrete and other is continuous. One is discrete and other is continuous. Okay, so what do we mean by discrete? Suppose we have 1 point mass here m1, 1 point mass here m2, 1 point mass here m3, and we are considering this as our system. We are considering this as our system. So it will what? It will term as discrete system because there is a finite distance between the particles. But for example, if we have a rod like this, and if we treat this as system, if we treat this as system, then it will be called continuous system. Because for example, like 2 points here m1 and just next to it m2. So distance between m2 and m1 and m2 is what? Infinitesimally small, very small. We cannot calculate distance between them, right? And here we can calculate the distance between the each one of the particles. So this one is termed as discrete and this one is termed as continuous. So here we can apply simple algebra for solving things, right? And here we have to take the help of calculus for our concern. Okay, okay, now start with the next topic that we have. Let's have a look on the dynamics of a system of particle. So till now we have discussed about the dynamics of particle, single particle. Now we are discussing about the dynamics of the system of the particles. So what we studied till now, we have to generalize these things. For example, we have studied about this. F equals to dp by dt. Okay, we have studied this already. F equals to dp by dt. So we are going to generalize this for. So suppose we have n particles. Suppose we have n particles. Okay. And suppose this particle number 1, let's suppose it's m1, this is m2, this is m3, this is m4, so on, and this is, let's suppose, mn. So if we look on any of the particle, let's suppose 1, so it will have what? F1 internal or maybe F1 external. Okay, so it will have two forces, F1 internal and F1 external. This is the external force which is acting outside the system. So suppose this is our system, this mass particle m1, m2, m3, and this is our system. So if something is exerting force on M1 from the outside the system, then it called external force. So it is what? Sorry, outside the system. But we have some forces, we have some particles inside the system also. So they will also exert force on M1. So F internal is due to the inside the system. So there are interaction between the within the system also. So we can write here that F1 internal plus, so I don't like this type of notation, so I will write it this way. F1 internal plus F1 external. This is the net force acting on the one particle. So it will be equals to d P1, this is a vector sign, upon dt. Similarly, we can write F2 internal plus F2 external can be written as dP2 by dt. Similarly, we can write for the ith particle. For example, we can write for the ith particle that F internal plus F ith external is equals to dpi upon dt. So we can generalize all these things for the ith particle. So these are discrete particles. We have considered these as discrete particle for now. Okay, so what can we do from this? So we can use the summation here, right? So we can use the summation here, and what will it become? Wait. Okay, it's good now. We can use the summation here, and that will be summation I equals to 1 to n Fi internal plus Fi external is equals to summation I equals to 1 to n dpi upon dt. So this is the general equation we can write for this particle. So we also know that from third law of motion, from Newton's third law, right? Every action has its equal and opposite reaction, and so we can say that all of the internal forces will cancel out each other, right? So if all of the forces will cancel out each other, so we can substitute this I1 to n Fi internal equals to 0, and this equation will become like this. Wait. Also, we can write this summation I equals to n Fi external as net external force, right? So we are writing this as net external force. So what we can do here, so we can write F net external is equals to summation I equals to 1 to n dpi over dt. So that's equal to this also, summation I equals to 1 to n dpi upon dt. So what we can do about this? So we can write it as dp net upon dt, right? So from here we can write it down. F external is what? Dp net, net momentum of the system of the particle, summation of all the article. So we have concluded to this portion. If external and internal force, all of them are acting on the every particles of the system, so we can write for a system of particle like this. So from here we can say that this is what, this is analogous to a point system, right? This is analogous to a point system. We have written this also for a point system, what, F equals to dp by dt. So here also I am trying to make you understand through a problem. So write down one question, and the question name is the bola. What is this bola? I will let you understand. First write out the question. So the question is, the bola is used by gauchos. Actually this bola is basically a set of balls, and gauchos is basically South American cowboys. So you have seen in the movies also. I will show you some pic. For entangling their cattle, for entangling their cattle, it consists of 3 balls of stone. It consists of 3 balls of stone or iron in modern days, connected by thong, string, you can say. What they do, the gauchos whirl this, the bola, in the air and hurls it at the animal. What can we say about the motion? So let's get to the solution part. And before moving to the solution, I want to show you the bolas. So give me a minute. So this is the figure. Yes. Yes. This is the bolas. Right. This is the bola. So what they, so it's like this. Let me draw. 1 ball, 2 ball, 3 ball, and all of them are connected to this string, and this is the hand, although it's not looking like hand, but you can suppose it like a hand. And what, they all are moving in a circular direction, right? So whirling, so the cowboy whirl this what you say, bola, and capture this bird, right, or any animal. So what they did, so you can say this is mass m1, this is mass m2, and this is mass m3. Okay, and each ball is pulled by this tension, right, and gravity. Okay, so we are neglecting the air resistance here. So what we can do here, so we can write dp, and this is net. Whenever I dp, it's already net. So equals to what? It will equals to F external only right? Considering this whole S system, this string and all of this, considering this as system. So string mass, considering string as massless. So whatever considering massless string. So string is massless, so we don't need to write the equation, but we can say one thing: the tension is what? Internal forces. So this and this tension will cancel out. This and this tension will cancel out. This and this tension will cancel out. These are internal forces. So what we can write for the external forces? So I can write that is acting on 1, that is acting on 2, and that is acting on 3. So what is net force acting on 1? It is what? M1G. For 2, it is M2G. And for 3, it is M3G. Write it, suppose this as minus J and upper plus J. So is minus J. So we can write it as minus M1 plus M2 plus M3 into G J cap. So equals to is what? Minus M. That is the total mass. G J cap. What does it signify? It's not a very good question, but it signifies a very important thing, that when Guchos hurls the bola, although it's a complicated system, but he needs only aim like a single mass, right? So the Guchos treat the bolas as single mass for aiming. You can think about it. Just think for a second. When you are rotating the bolas and you're throwing this at, you can aim on a single point. You cannot aim the multiple, right? You're not Bahubali from Bahubali 2 who can shoot 3 arrows at a time and kill 3 people. So you can aim at one arrow only. Maybe all of the arrow will follow this trajectory, maybe, but you can aim on a single particle only, right? So this is the beauty of center of mass. So you have multiple particles, but you can decide the motion of the multiple particles by seeing all of them like a single point object, right? So from here we can define center of mass. Each and every word that I utter in the class is very important, because it will give you a perspective how to write answer in the examination. Also you can quote these example in your examination, right? So what is the center of mass? So first of all, center of mass is an imaginary point. So it's a imaginary point in a space where total mass of the body can be assumed to be concentrated. Just wait. Yes. Just look at this. What we have written here. So this is the whole body. If we concentrate the whole mass at its center of mass, if we assume that, so we can write this formula. We can apply this formula for what? Its center of mass. So what? This is what I am trying to say. So what is the need of the center of mass? What is the need of the center of mass? Why we are studying center of mass? We are studying center of mass because we have a system of particle, and it is very difficult, or you can say it is very time consuming or lengthy to discuss the motion of each individual particle. So we need to define a point from where we can denote the motion of the object. We will also derive it also. We can come to its properties also. But one thing I want to state here, and this is the very important part, you should write it down, that translational motion of system of particles is equal to the motion of center of mass of the system. And this is very important. You can say that it is the most important part, most important statement you can study it in center of mass. So all of these things, net force, net momentum, all will come from here only. So what is this? This is what? This is multiple objects, right? And this is what? Single object. Not objects, it's object. So if we can define, we can reduce the multiple objects problem into a single object problem just by defining its center of mass. So this is its importance. So we can write it like this. What we have studied, that F is equals to M R double dot, or you can either M A net or A total, you can write it if you wish, but let it be this, like this only. You can write it like this for a single particle. Also, what we have studied, that F is equals to dP net by dt, and this is F external. If I miss to write the F external, you should treat it as F external only, and it will like what? It will be this dP net will be equals to what? Summation I1 to n MIA. You can write the acceleration, or you can write the R double dot also here. R double dot I. Okay. So by comparing these two equations, we can simply write it as MR double dot is equals to summation 1 to n is MIR double dot I. And this we can say that is the most important relation if we are considering the center of mass. So from here we can write it down, R dot is equals to 1 upon m summation 1 equals to 1 n mi ri dot, right? We can write this also. So what it is mean, what it's mean, I'm going to tell you also that. Also we can write it as like this, R equals to 1 by m summation 1 n MIRI, and this R is known as center of mass of the system of particle. This R is known as center of mass of the system of particle, and we can write for any type of system. We can write this for any type of system. This is also known as, if you can elaborate this, you can write it as in a familiar term also, that R center of mass is equals to what? M1 R1 plus M2 R2 plus M3 R3 plus so on Mn Rn upon M total. what you have studied in your junior classes. This is the just summation form of this result. So this is our R center of mass. This is what? This is what? Velocity of center of mass. Velocity of center of mass. Right? This is what? V center of mass. This is okay. I think you also know that. So if we are given to find out the center of mass of the object, we can find it easily. Also, we can find the motion of the center of mass easily, right? For example, let's do a question. This is drum majors battle. Just see the question. For example, we have a stick, right? This part is very light as compared to this mass. This is m1, this is m2, and this is length L. Right? If we throw this, this will follow this path. Maybe like this. Okay. So if you consider this point, it will move in what? Parabolic path. This is, I'm not writing the question here. Okay. We have to find its center of mass and its equations of motion. So what we can do here, we can simply write it as m1 and m2. This force is internal, so we can write the external force. What will be equal? Is m1 plus m2 r double dot is equals to what? Sum of individual forces acting on them. So what are the individual external forces acting on it? That is m1g plus m2g. This is the total mass that we have studied into r double dot. So what it become? It become m1 plus m2 into g. So from here we can write that r double dot is equals to g. What does it signify? What does signify? We don't know the motion of this baton or this stick, but one thing we can notice that its center of mass will follow the parabolic path, the acceleration due to gravity. Okay, and this is what the beauty of center of mass. So the motion of this stick can be observed. It may rotate, it may translate, but its center of mass will always translate according as if a ball is thrown like this. Okay, the motion of the particle will be like this only. Okay, so far we have discussed about the center of mass of the discrete system. So what will happen if we have center of mass for the continuous system? So if we have center of mass for continuous system, so we have to change the summation to integration. So what we can write? Okay, so where we are, sorry for the inconvenience. Center of mass for the continuous system, we are discussing that. Okay, so what we can do, wait, yes, so what we can do here, we can just change the thing. For example, r, right, is equals to 1 by m summation MIRI, right? This. So this is for our what? Discrete system. So if our what what you can say, if our system is continuous, we can write it as R is equals to 1 by m. So we can write it as in the integration form, that is dm integration r dm, and this is r of small dm. Okay, so we can write it as this. So here you can say that here you can simply write integration is dm equals to what, m total mass. Also you need to see this, that r dm is what, it's not the coordinate of dm mass, it's the center of, sorry, center of mass of dm. So what does it mean, we will see in later section also, but you just remember this formula, r is equals to integration r dm over integration dm, or also you can write dm as m here. Okay, now let us do some problem on this. So first start with a non-uniform rod. So for a uniform rod, we know that its center of mass is at half of the length. Wait. So suppose we have a rod. Okay, this is our rod, and what we can define is the mass per unit length of the rod, right? So we can consider this as 1d. Why 1d? Because suppose this is the radius and this is the length of the rod. Let's suppose L. So we can write that L is much greater than R. So we can treat it as one dimensional. It's not one dimensional, but we can wait. We can treat it as one dimensional object. So we can define lambda here, that is equals to what, dm by dl. Lambda equals to dm by dl. Also here given, it's given here lambda equals to wait, but there are some technical glitches here. Lambda naught x, let's suppose L is equals to lambda naught x, and we required to find the center of mass of the object. So what we can say that, how can we solve this? So come to the solution part. So this is our x direction, this is y, and let's suppose is at z. Okay, so what we can write, we need to find out the integration dm. The total mass is what, integration dm. First let's start with this. So how can we integrate this? So how, we must know how to take the element. So x, we can take dx, and on dx there will be a mass dm, and that is equals to lambda into dx, right? We can write it that. Also I will tell you how to take the element. So you must take elements so that the property of that element is equal to the property of the entire what say, entire material or object. Okay, also you should chop it like when you're chopping any vegetable, right? If you have something like this, you chop it like this. Okay, that's too immature for you guys, right? So we have to find this dm. So how can we find it? M equals to integration dm. We can write it lambda into dx, and we can integrate from 0 to L, and that's equals to what? Already we have mentioned lambda naught x by L into dx 0 to L, and it will come out to be what? Lambda naught L by 2. You can easily integrate it. Lambda naught L बाहर ले लोगे, x dx x square by 2 कट के आ जाएगा. Lambda naught L by 2. Okay, wait, it is lambda naught by x by L given. Okay, that will be easy to do. Okay, now comes the center of mass part. So R is equals to what? Integration R dm into dm upon integration dm. So we have done this. Okay, so we have do the upper part only. So it is already what? It is 1 by m integration. So what is R into dm? So we have to write the dm and R. What is the R vector for this one? So x dx. So if we consider this as strip, right, and its length is dx, then its center of mass will lie on the this line, that is dx by 2. We'll write some of the properties of center of mass also in coming after this only. So x plus dx by 2 will be the x coordinate of its center of mass. That will be approximately equal to x. We can write it as, because dx by 2 is very small as compared to x. Okay, so for this we can write R vector as xi cap plus 0j cap plus 0k cap, or simply xi cap you can write, into lambda naught x dx by L. Putting these value, you can get what? 1 by m is what? 2 upon lambda naught L, and it will become what? X naught by, you can take x naught by L here, and it will become integration x I cap x into dx. So it becomes x square dx from 0 to L, integrate it, and you will left with this 2L by 3 I cap. So its center of mass will lie where? Our center of mass will lie on this 2L by 3 I cap. So what does it signify? If we can discuss this motion of the center of mass, we can discuss the translational motion of the whole rod. Okay, so before going further, I want to tell you one thing also. Suppose you throw one ball upward from here, one ball upward from here, and another one from here, 1 and 2. This is 1 and this is 2. Suppose this is at H. So if you want to find out the center of mass, you know that it will go to a highest point and it will come back. It will go also to a maximum height and it will come back. So can you find out the H max for center of mass? Try to understand this. Okay, can we find out the H max for the center of mass? How much the center of mass is going upward? So you can find out. How? Simple equation. If you can find the acceleration of center of mass that we have already studied, What is acceleration of center of mass? Simply it is what? m1a1, sorry, plus m2a2, so on, mnan upon total mass, right? So you have acceleration, also you have velocity of center of mass, what? m1a, sorry, v1 plus m2 v2 plus so on, mn vn upon, right? So if you have acceleration, if you have velocity, also you have r center of mass, what? This is mr1 plus, sorry, okay, m2r2, so on, mn rn upon m. I'm not, I don't know why I'm getting these here. Wait a minute, please. Okay, okay, it's fine now. So we know that F is equals to what? M d square R by dt. And this is what? Second order differential equation. And it need what? Two initial condition, which can be easily fulfilled if you know the R center of mass and V center of mass. Suppose it is thrown with 20 meter per second, it is thrown with 40 meter per second. Okay, its mass is 4 kilo, its mass is 2 kilogram, and h suppose 100 meter. Try to solve this. Okay, you can easily solve this. Okay, come to the some of the characteristics of center of mass. Some of the so what we can write first is this: center of mass, all mass concentrated there. Okay. Also, what does it mass means? All forces can be considered. To be acted there. For example, suppose this is a rod or this is a block. Let's suppose if F is acting here, F is acting here, you can just say that center of mass is here, F is acting above, and another F is acting on. So F net is what? 0. So this body will not move. This body will not translate. Actually, it may rotate. Yes, it may rotate, but it will not translate. So center of mass is the point where we can assume all of the mass to be concentrated there. All of the force can be concentrated to be acted there. We don't need the point of application of force for describing translational motion. And this is the very important property of center of mass. So we don't need any. No need to find point of application of force. So without knowing the point of application of force, we can still deduce the translational motion of a rigid body also. And this is the property of center of mass. Okay. Also, let me consider one more thing. We have already discussed about the velocity of center of mass, right? So I'm not writing it. You can write about the R center of mass, right? V center of mass, right? A center of mass, right? Momentum of center of mass. Also, we know that momentum center of mass what? Momentum of m1 v1 plus m2 v2 and so on, right? So you can write these things also. Also, one more important thing, what? Center of mass need not to lie inside or on the body. Right? Center of mass can be anywhere in this space. It need not to be lie inside the body. For example, discrete system m1, m2 is here. Maybe center of mass is here. It's not lying on m1 or m2 or m3 anywhere. Okay. Also, if we have this semi-circular ring, the center of mass lies somewhere here. Okay. So this is the beauty of center of mass. It's a hypothetical concept, right? It's not a. It's an imaginary point. It's a hypothetical concept. It is the hypothetical concept to discuss the translational motion of a system of particle, right? Okay. Also, it lie on the point of symmetry. Also, if you can find the center of symmetry, then it will lie there also. And geometrical center. Right? What is geometrical center? For example, if you have a rectangular box, so where the center of mass will lie, so it will lie in geometrical center. What is geometrical center? When both diagonals meet. So this is what? Center of mass. If you have a circle, then its center is what? Center of mass. If you have a triangle, its center will be what? Center of mass, right? So it will lie on the geometrical part. Also, it lies near the heavy mass. So where the mass is heavy, it lies near that. For example, you have already seen in your childhood this type of toy. Right? Sand is filled here, like, and if you hit here, it goes down and it comes back. Why it doesn't move? Because center of mass is somewhere here, right? And this one making it to live here only. Also, one more example. For example, sun. Consider this as sun, and consider this as earth. No, I'm not making. Wait. We should show hierarchy. Right? सूर्य देवता को देना पड़ेगा ये चीज. खैर, for example, so what happened between both of them? So there is a center of mass of sun and earth, and earth move in the elliptical path. Sun also move in the elliptical path. Yes, but center of mass where? It lie near the sun. Also, we know that mass of sun is much greater than the mass of earth. So we assume that center of mass lie on sun. We can assume it easily, no matter. So it lie near where the heavier particle is. Also, no matter no matter the rotational effect, translational motion will be governed by center of mass only. What does it mean? Let me clarify to you. For example, if you have a box like this, suppose if you have a box like this, so what are the force acting here? So normal is acting here. Wait. Okay. Normal is acting here, and also maybe mass is here. Maybe mg is acting here. So it may produce a torque, and the body will come like this. Okay. So it will rotate plus translate. But if we see center of mass only, what can you can see? Normal is acting in the vertical direction, and also mg is acting in vertical direction. So center of mass must move in vertical direction only. This is the important thing. We can say that. So I don't know where the center of mass is, but wherever the center of mass is, let's suppose this is here. So its center of mass always move in this vertical line. It cannot follow any other trajectory, right? And this is what the beauty of the center of mass. Also, if you throw a baseball, we have already seen that. Suppose this is the baseball bat, sorry. If you throw it, the center of mass will still follow the parabolic trajectory. It will go in projectile motion. Maybe it rotate also, maybe like this also. We don't know about the motion of that base bat, but the center of mass will definitely follow this. Okay, so these are some of the things you should note about the center of mass. One more property is the collinearity. Okay, center of mass of two body lie line joining the object. Here you can write any two body, right? And this will prove in coming lectures. Sorry, in coming sections. Okay. Now let me introduce one thing. How can we find the center of mass of some objects? So let's start with some questions. Wait. Before moving to this question, I want to make one special note here. So we have a special case. Special case here, that is two body only. This is two body only. First see this, then we will move to the next question. Suppose this is the coordinate axis Right. This is X, this is Y, and this is Z. And we have 2 points, M1 and M2. This is R1 vector, this is R2 vector. So, and this will be what? R center of mass vector. We know that 2 particles center of mass will lie here. And suppose this is R1 dash, and this is what? R2 dash. You can write it. So what we can do, we can define here R center of mass, and it will be what? It will be equals to M1 R1 plus M2 R2 M1 plus M2. This we know. We are going to prove 2 very important things here. First, that center of mass lie on this. So we will first find out R1 dash and R2 dash, and we will also check the property of collinearity. What is collinearity? That R2 dash plus lambda R1 dash equals to 0. What does it mean? This means the same. If both of them point are collinear with, for example, this is M1 and this is R1 dash, this is center of mass, and this is R2 dash, this is M2, right? If we can write R1 in terms of R2, or if we can say that R1 and R2 are collinear, so we can say that center of mass lie on the line joining them. We will also see the two-body problem in coming chapters, but till now we want to discuss this. Okay, so what we can write from this here? This is triangle law. Okay, and let's suppose this one and this one. This one is R1 dash, this is R2 dash. So you can write R1 dash is basically R1 with respect to center of mass, and R2 dash is equals to what? R2 with respect to center of mass. Okay, we will see in the coming section frame of reference also, but till now see this. So what we can do here, we can write that R1 center of mass is equals to R1 minus R center of mass. Okay, this is R1 dash, obviously. This is R1 dash. So what is R1 dash? This is R1 minus R center of mass is what? M1 R1 plus M2 R2 upon M1 plus M2. Multiply this become M1 R1 minus M1 R1. So I think M1 R1 would cancel out this, and M2 R1 minus. Okay, write it down. M1 R1 would cancel out this, then M2 will common. This is R1 minus R2 vector upon M1 plus M2. Similarly, if we find out R2 dash, it will become what? R2 center of mass, R of 2 with center of mass, that is R2 minus R center of mass, this R2 minus M1 R1 plus M2 R2 upon m1 plus m2. So it will become what? M1, no, m2 r2 will cancel out, so it will become m1 r2 minus r1 equals to m1 plus m2. Let it be equation number 1 and let it be equation number 2. From these equation, what we can write here, suppose not need to write the equation. Wait, we have done a mistake here. This is r1. Okay. Sorry, I have erased it. What we can do, just multiply and divide it by m2. Okay, so it will become m1 by m2 minus what? M2 r1 minus r2 upon m1 plus m2. And what is this? See this, we have just find out this one. This is r1 dash, so r2 dash can be written as minus m1 by m2 r2 dash. So we prove the collinearity. You can write it down like this also, that m2 r2 dash plus m1 r1 dash equals to 0. You can also write it as r2 dash is equal plus m1 by m2 plus, oh wait, we have done some mistake here. This was r1 dash, sorry, this is r1 dash. Okay, this will be r1, sorry, r1 dash equals to 0. This is the collinearity what we are trying to achieve and we are trying to prove. So it will lie on the line joining center of mass. Also we can write this also. Okay, dash is there. Okay, so now write out the question, and it is regarding the exoplanet. So what are exoplanets? So exoplanets are something that are beyond our solar systems. Exoplanets. So before the invention of the telescope, Kepler's already proved, yeah, or you can say hypothesized the motion of the particle or time period around them. That is known as Kepler's law, right? So here, what we need to find that, suppose we have a star. This is our star, okay, and this is the center of mass, and it will move also in an elliptical path around the center of mass. We have discussed it. Also, this is the elliptical path of the planet. So this is our planet. Okay, its size is very small. Let me draw the smaller one. Okay, so this is our planet. So this is given. Okay, and for any instant, right, what we need to find out here, we need to find out the time period. We need to find out the time period. First, let's discuss some of the points here. Okay, so what we can do, suppose after some interval of time, this star will come here and this planet will go there, maybe. What they will maintain always, that the line joining both of them will pass from the center of mass. So line joining them passes through center of mass. We have already discussed it. So what we can get at any instant from the above, we can write it as, sorry, let mass of planet be small m and star be capital M, let's suppose. Okay, so for at any instant in time, we can write small n into radius of planet plus capital M radius of star is equals to 0, because the center of mass is passing through the line joining them. From this result only we can conclude this. Also we can write R of S is equals to minus m by m of Rp, right? And also we know that m is much greater than m here. M is much greater than m here, and we will also see, sorry, we will also apply this result. What here it is saying that R of is what? Distance from its center of mass. If m is very large, then what? Rs will become very small. Rs is what? Inversely proportional to m, or m by m ratio. You can say, see that. So if m by m ratio becomes very small, Rs become very small. So one thing that I need to say this. Also, let's suppose this planet to be Earth. Let's suppose this planet to be Earth and star as our sun, because whatever we will achieve from this star and planet, it's already applicable on our star, that is sun, and our planet Earth. So also we can assume this. Assume what we are assuming, that the, what you say, trajectory to be circular. We are assuming that actually it is what? Actually it is what? Actually it is slightly elliptical. Wait. Actually it is what? Slightly elliptical. Why I am writing slightly, right? Because you can say that it's, if it were very elliptical in nature, then the life on the earth will be very what you can say, not suitable, right? For because it is slightly, this is suitable for life. Yes, this play a very important role, and for this only we assume it to be a circular, so it is nearly circular, right? In actual sense we can say that it is a nearly circular, just modestly elliptical or slightly elliptical. Okay, and this is very important point, because if it not going to happen, because if it is a very high elliptical, so I'm writing is also a high elliptical elongated orbit led to large temperature swing. I think you have already studied in your geography classes, right? The elliptical nature of the, sorry, elliptical path of the earth, where it goes on the change in season, solstice, right? So if it would be highly elliptical in nature, then we can see the highly temperature swing, and that is not beneficial for us, right? With what will happen with water going between freezing and boiling. This is a very value added line, right? This one line can fetch you 1 mark extra whenever you are studying the central forces. Whenever you write anything with related to the earth and you are assuming it to be circular, you need to write it down why we are assuming it circular and why it is nearly circular. Okay. Okay, so what we can write, if earth is rotating, like this is our earth, this is going in the circular motion, this is the force acting on it. Okay, so what we can write, so m rp theta dot whole square. So forget about the vector sign here, just we are calculating the magnitude here. This is rp theta is what, theta dot is what, it's acceleration, it's centripetal acceleration. We have already discussed in lecture 1 this thing. So it will be what, equals to g mm upon rp plus rs whole square. We know that here is this sun, this is the center of mass, so this is rs, and here it is rp. A gravitational pull is attracting this and making it to revolve around it in circular orbit. So here you can easily get just multiply divide by, also what we know that m is much greater than m. Okay, we can cut this m. So rp plus rs is equivalent to rs because rp will be very small. So from here we can write our theta dot as gm upon rp whole cube. Okay, and if you integrate these things, on integrating with respect to time, obviously we can find out theta, and that will be equals to gm upon rp cube. This is time t. Okay, one more thing, before the discovery of telescope, Kepler's already calculated these things. Okay, so this is the result what Kepler gives us. So one complete revolution. So if we talk about one complete revolution, what we can say, theta is equals to 2 pi and t equals to t, that is time period. If we substitute it here, it will become 2 pi is equals to gm upon rp cube into t. So rearrange this, rp will go here, so you can write that t square is proportional to what, rp cube, and what, it's Kepler's third law. Kepler gave it in law, right? So we can deduce this using the center of mass approach also. Okay, right. Next, let us move to the next question. So let us discuss the case of a molecule. We are going to find the center of mass of the molecule. So this is the molecule. This is the m1, this is m2, and this is r. Maybe I'm not going to solve these things. I think you can solve it easily. What you need to draw? You need to draw an axis. Write this m1, write this m2, and they are joined with L. Also, a very good possibility to do is to M1, this is M2, assume coordinate on one of the atom and then calculate the center of mass. You will be able to calculate it easily, right? So you should try this. I will try to arrange one question on your daily practice sheet based on this. So we have already discussed the two particle, so it will be very easy for you to solve this. Okay. Next, I want you to make some equations for find the center of mass for some shapes. Wait. Today I'm getting very problem with the software. Let's suppose semi disk, not semi ring. Let's suppose. So you are given with the semi ring. Okay. And this is radius r. Also its mass is m here, and it is continuously uniformly distributed. Uniformly distributed will suffice this work. I don't need to write the continuous word. So we need to find the center of mass of this. So come to the solution part. So whenever problem came for find out the center of mass of this, so you need to write the what do you mean by center of mass and what properties of center of mass you are applying here. So we are applying first one is symmetry here. Let it to be x-axis, this to be y-axis, right? And what we from symmetry we can say, that its x center of mass is 0. What we can say that its x center of mass is 0. Why we can say that? Because suppose this is the half portion, this is the half portion. So we have already discussed it lie on the center of symmetry. So it will lie somewhere in this line. Okay. Now let us define this, how we can. So let us assume this small segment, this small dx, or you can say dl, small dl. So in this small dm, there will be dm, and that is equals to what? Lambda into dl. And what is lambda? Dm by dl. Let us consider, and it is constant, so we can write it. Total mass is m here, and what its length is? It's pi r. Okay. So let us consider lambda is pi r. So at theta, we take this d theta and we take this element. So we need to find out the center of mass for this element. So what we want here, we want y center of mass. Okay. Y here we want y center of mass. So it can be written as y dm center of mass into dm upon total m. Okay. So 1 by m equals to what is y center of mass and dm. So y center of mass what? If it is r, is theta. This is what? R cos theta, and the height will be r sine theta. So its y center of mass will be r sine theta. What will be dm here? That is equals to lambda into dl. What is lambda? M by pi r into dl. M by pi r into dl. So one more thing here, we know that theta is equals to L by r. So according to this, we can write d theta is equals to dl by r. right? We can write dl as rd theta. So 1 by m integration r sine theta, here m by pi r can be written as rd theta. So r cancel out, m and m cancel out. Okay, r by pi goes outside. So r by pi is here, and here we are integrating sine theta d theta from where? From 0 to pi, I think. From 0 to pi. So what it will give? Cos minus cos, sorry, yes, minus cos pi minus cos 0, that it will give 2r by pi. So its y center of mass will be where? 2r by pi. So if we write, if you can write the r center of mass, we can write it at 0 I cap plus 2r by pi g cap. So like this we can solve any of the continuous system. So you should try to solve for semi disk, right? Hemisphere, hemisphere can be both solid, it can be hollow. Okay, or what you can say, cone, right? Hollow cone. So you should be able to solve these portion. You have to take the element and just integrate for getting the center of mass. I would like to discuss one more, that is semi disk, to make you understand one thing. Right, this is the semi disk, and this is r, and let's suppose sigma is given m upon pi r square by 2. I think this is the area for this, and this is also uniform. Okay, mass is m here. So we need to find out its center of mass. So how can we find out its center of mass? So for sure, if this is the disk, and if we take this as coordinate system, I always tell you that reference frame should be chosen in an intelligent manner so that it will reduce our work. So according to symmetry, we can also write as center of mass of x is 0. So we are primarily focusing on the y center of mass. So what is y center of mass? Integration y of dm into dm upon total mass m. Okay. So how can we cut this? Let me. We have two way of cutting this. We can like cut it like this, or we can cut it like this also. So which one is beneficial for us? So this one will be beneficial, this will be not, because this will all contain the similar properties like the disk. So if we don't know the center mass of semi disk, we are not able to find out the center mass of disk sector. But if we consider like this, we will get a small ring, and we know the center of mass of the ring. So what we will do for R, we will take a small strip of dr. So if we'll make this strip like this, put it and arrange it like this, so what will, this length will be equals to pi r, and this will equals to dr. So its dA is equals to what? Pi r into dr. What? Pi r into dr. Also we can sigma, what is here, pi r square by 2 is what? Dm by dA. Actually what? Dm by dA here. Okay, let's substitute these values. So for getting y center of mass, what is r center of mass here? What should we write? Should we write r or should we write the center of mass of this small dm, this ring? So we have already studied it is 2r by pi. So what we have to do, we have to write this 2r by pi here. Okay, this is the center of mass. Then we should write the dm part. What is dm? What is dm? dm is sigma into dA. dm is what? Sigma into dA. And what is sigma? Sigma is m pi r square by 2 into dA. What is dA? This is pi r into dr. And where we have to calculate? From 0 to r. I think you can integrate it easily, and it's your homework to integrate it. Just let me check. This pi r dr. Yes, that's correct. Okay, I think it comes out like 4r by 3 pi, but you should check it, right? So this is all about the center of mass. You have to choose how to find out the center of mass. Okay, also we will give you some questions in your practice test also, where you can apply these questions. And UPSC is already asked to find out the center of mass for discrete object as well as the continuous object, right? So you should practice on your own also these things. Next is our center of mass frame and laboratory frame, lab frame. Next we are going to discuss. So whatever we have studied till now, we are discussing with our lab frame. So let me discuss the lab frame first. So lab frame is what? Frame attached to earth, and treating this as inertial frame. We are treating lab frame as also inertial frame. Earth rotate, I know. Earth revolve also. So due to the revolution and rotation, there will be many pseudo forces acting on it. It's true, but their magnitude, their value is so less. So we can assume our lab frame as inertial frame, right? So we always assume our inertial frame as, so we can write it as L frame. Okay. Okay. Next one is center of mass frame. This center of mass frame. So write down some point. First of all, center of mass frame, center of mass should be of an isolated system. That means there should be no external forces acting on it, right? If you are considering center of mass frame, so it must be an isolated system, that no net force acting on it. That means it is also an inertial frame. It is also an inertial frame. So what is center of mass frame? Basically coordinate axes attached to center of mass. For example, this is center of mass, and if we attach the coordinate axis here and try to measure the property, then it will become center of mass frame. So why it is important, right? Why it is important? So it is important because first of all, it's inertial frame, so Newton's laws of motions are valid. Also easy to use in case of collision. When we are observing any collision or writing its value, it's very easy to write it when we use the center of mass frame. Also, deduction of equations, because if we write the equations from laboratory frame, we have to write the equations for center of mass also, right? One more thing, this is a zero momentum frame. We will discuss it, but I want to quote it from here also. This is a zero momentum frame. So momentum, I am talking about linear momentum. We will also discuss what do you mean by momentum in coming chapters, but this is a zero momentum frame, right? Also, a particle can have no, wait, leave it for now. We will discuss it later. When I will put it the example, I will write it down here. You should integrate here also. Okay. So first we come to the conversion. Okay. Conversion from L frame to C frame. We will see the basic conversion. Okay. And when we studied collision, we will have a clear-cut picture why we are using C frame. So we will have some basic conversion, and rest we will study when we study collision.